And he'd give us a point on a map that we would have to carry a wounded guy in a stretcher with these 2 5-gallon, jugs of water. And every
That's hilarious.
30 seconds, we'd get contact and have to drop everything. And
you know what that's called? I always wonder, as actors, I imagine there's an immense pressure on guys that they hadn't served before, but there's an immense pressure because I'm sure that you guys are like, man, I want to make sure that this is as done as well as possible for the guys that have been through this.
Yeah.
And
the guys that you're portraying, especially if you're portraying somebody real. I mean, we all were. At the very end of the film, it shows a lot of faces. Most of them are blurred, and either due to privacy or the fact that they're still serving. And I know a couple of them that are. These are real people with real lives, real Gold Star families, and this might be the only time that their son or father or brother is represented. And film is forever, and so you have to get it right. Yeah, you have to get it right. I actually met Ray Mendoza. He was one of our military advisors on a film I did, The Outpost for Netflix, which was another military film. And him and Jericho Denman and his brother Travis were Army Rangers, and obviously Ray was a SEAL. But they put us through the training that we did and kind of got us into that mindset of like this is going to be a forever thing. You got to get it right. You got to do these families and these men justice, and you can't half-ass it. And drilled it in to us then. And then to see him being on the directing side of things, and that's how we kind of got connected on this film, is because we had such a great interaction. I think the first time that he brought me back in for warfare, but he'd been drilling it into us from the beginning. This is as real as it's going to get for you actors. We're going to try and make it as accurate as possible, but never lose sight of the fact that these are real people with real stories, and this is your one chance to represent them. So don't screw it up.
Yeah, and that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine you're like,
yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to do the best I can. Let's get as many takes as we need to take, man. I don't care how many times we got to do it.
Pressure is having to go clear a room with a PKM on the other side. We're actors, Pressure we have is self-imposed. Yes, there's a little bit of that, but it's nothing in comparison to what these guys had to do. So if we had to, spend a few more hours, doing room clearing drills or magazine changes or doing group group activities, as we'll call them.
Team building exercises.
Yeah, team building exercises. So be it. It's nothing in comparison to what these guys had to go. And an honor to get to portray them as well. Yeah. Some of the activities that Ray would have us do, we'd have a guy in a stretcher. We'd have five or six guys to a team, and we'd be fully kitted up with, and thank God they did it the right way, where they actually put plates in the carriers, so there weren't these flimsy little things. I hate when I see that. But he would set us up teams, and he'd give us a point on a map that we would have to carry a wounded guy in a stretcher with these 2 5-gallon jugs of water. And every 30 seconds, we'd get contact and have to drop everything. And
you know what that's called?
No,
it's called a Kazovac drill.
Oh, we did lots of Kazovac drills, and it sucked. People were throwing up. We got lost. We were always late. We never got to the point on time.
That's hilarious.
And it just goes to show how much communication can get lost or destroyed with stress. In the rotation, we were on this perfect rotation, so people didn't burn out the same arm and take turns carrying the water jugs. But when you don't know where you are and people are screaming and you're behind on the timeline, and then your other buddy gets shot and now he's down too, and someone's got to help carry him, everything breaks down. And that was just a micro moment of chaos. And this is what they did day in and day out. That scene where DeFerro Wuntide takes his headset off because there's just so much chatter and stress. That's your job. That's your job for however many deployments you go on. That's insane to me. Yeah. We just had a little taste of simulated stress, and we panicked and fell apart. I can't imagine being 19 or 20 and having to do that on a daily basis in combat, where your life and your buddies' lives are at risk. It's insane to me.
The way that people are able to manage that is from repetition.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
What's that saying? You don't fall to you fall to the level of your training, right?
Yeah. Falling back on your training. You do your training so much for every scenario that you could encounter. And so that way, whenever you encounter it, you just react on impulse instead of having to think through things.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, and I'm sure that the SEALs have their own tactics and everything. I don't know anything about SEALs tactics other than having friends that are SEALs. I don't know anything about like what their tactics are, their SOPs, because it's going to be very different. And it's probably highly classified, I'm sure. But Marine Corps, it's very, very simple. Like the one thing you always have to do if you're getting shot at, you need to shoot back. While you're shooting, that's the first thing that has to happen. You have to immediately return fire, and then you need to take cover, and then you need to start returning accurate fire, and people need to start getting like if somebody is hit, they need to get pulled off of the zone that they were hit on and pulled behind cover. And somebody needs to start performing triage. Somebody needs to start calling in a 9-line. You need the 9-line is like a CASEVAC report. Essentially, it's a casualty report. So there's like 9 lines. You call up the people that you need to call that have helicopters or medical teams or whatever, and you give them like a bunch of different things, like your call sign, your 10-digit grid. You tell them the type of injury the person has. There's a big list of all these things, and like the.
And to remember all that information.
Well, what you do is typically you'll have a report that you'll have like a pre-made report that you can write on, and you'll have it in one of your pockets. Like I had a quarterback sleeve.
That's what Ray had.
Yeah, I had a quarterback sleeve when I was a squad leader, and I had my reports right there, and I could write on them with a map pen, and then when I was done, I could wipe it clean. And so like if we took a casualty, I'd just whip it out. I'd fill out all the information real quick. I'd get on the radio behind cover while other people are doing other things after I've delegated to like. You have to be like, okay, what needs to happen first? All right, delegate everything that needs to happen right now. Once it's all been delegated, you trust your dudes to take care of what needs to happen. You get behind cover, and then you need to start calling in the 9-line. And you need you need to have somebody else calling the 9-line. Oftentimes, like people like to delegate that out too, because then they can be the leader that's in the fight still. Depends on like what you like to do as a leader. There's no wrong answer. You can do it however you want, but it like you said, it's very complicated, and the only way you get better is just repetition, and the Marine Corps does a really good job with it. I'm sure that the Navy SEALs probably train their asses off. Yeah, I mean, like they are absolute consummate professionals. I've been fortunate to work with some SEALs like in a forward deployed environment before. I actually got promoted to first lieutenant by a couple Navy SEALs because I asked them. I was like, hey man, like there's no Marines out here. Like, I was just with them and some Army cats. I was like, you guys mind pinning me to first lieutenant? And this was in 2023. And we were in Syria at the time. I was like, this would be kind of cool for me. Like, can we go shoot some guns and like you guys can pin first lieutenant on? And they're like, yeah, that's cool, man. So that was a really cool experience. But they're super professional guys, like very laid back, very professional. They expect there's a certain level of expectation they had for like, what you're doing and what we were doing. Like, we're not out there to like play around, like, but at the same time, like they were chill, like, hey, it's time, let's get some chow, let's relax, talk through things. Really cool dudes, man. So I had I'm sure everybody has different experiences because it's very personality driven. I'm sure there's some good people and bad people in every branch, but I've had a pretty overwhelmingly good experience with SEALs, and they were very professional, and obviously they train their asses off, and there's a reason why, they're respected in the special operations community. And I mean, obviously you saw the Delta raid that happened recently. Those guys are respected too. Pretty wild. Pretty wild situation.
Insane. And by the way, I don't know, exactly how to feel because all I see is, clips on the internet. But to have a group of people that can go in your country and steal your president is insane.
Yeah, that's a show of force.
That's insane.
Yeah, but we definitely for sure have people that are there right now that we've had there for months for sure, probably years. But it still is like the fact that they were able to get in, take him, and then leave without losing anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
That's almost spooky, I would imagine.
Very spooky. It's spooky to me.
It's spooky to me. Like if they could do him, they could definitely come get me. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I see your clips online, where are you getting most of your information from? Is it all over the place? Did you see something on Twitter pop up, or the White House dropping a video, and you're like, oh snap! Like
it's usually like, it's all over the place. Like X has a lot of things on it. There's a lot of there's a lot of folks that are doing a lot of good work on X, and a lot of the times I'm not the person breaking the information. There's also other means I can't say necessarily, but I would say X is.
There's
really
a lot
good.
of people on X that are like, breaking news and
breaking it, and then you can and then usually when something's broke, I can usually do some searching and try to find more details about stuff and then elaborate on it. And if I can find like some news articles on it, even better, like elaborate even more, because I like providing some finer details to explain like some contextual stuff, like because like some of that stuff gets lost with the mainstream media because they only have so much time to put things together, and like they're posting like, I mean, hell, a lot of these big media corporations are posting like 20, 30 short form videos, maybe 50 on their pages per day. And it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing 5, bro. I don't have time for.
You're consistent though. You're on it, man.
I try to be. I've set the bar as like, my goal is 5 every day. Find 5 interesting things to talk about, either current event related or, geopolitical related or technology or military stuff of any kind. Even if it's just news, like of something that happened. I think it's interesting. Like at the end of the day, like really everything in media, whether it's movies, TV, social media, anything, it's all about providing something of value, And if that value added is you're helping portray a story of lives that people lived and experiences that they had, that's great. I think that's awesome. Some people are better at that than others. And then if you're teaching somebody about how something works, I think that's valuable. I think if you're informing people of information or providing information to people, that's valuable. If there's like, if you're teaching people about some sort of technology that maybe they didn't know about, maybe that's valuable. If you're teaching about history, history is like the, what is it? That's like the magic. That's like the magic, the magic trick, because it's like, history has already happened a long time ago, so it's not breaking news. So if you can get really good at talking about history and make videos about it, it's like immortalized, because like somebody at some point is going to look up something about that event at all times forever, ever and ever, because that event already transpired and already took place, so it's out there. So that's always a super valuable thing to talk about, and I enjoy that stuff too, because I think history is important. I also find history fascinating because there's so much like minute details that sometimes get lost in translation because they only cover so much of the topic at one time, and they only have so much time to cover each topic in school. So you may not learn about like all these nuanced details, like all the details about like how the German tankers were all hopped up on like methamphetamine and stuff like that. On drugs. Nobody ever said anything about that when I was in school. Yeah. But it's like now everyone knows.
I'd be interested to learn about that.
Now people are like, bro, how did they not sleep?
Pervitin or something? Or like they were all on.
I can't remember the name.
They basically like gave you these little Altoid tins worth of uppers.
Yeah,
just sent you on your way.
Take these
go skiing to Norway.
Go skiing.
They got there in 2 hours.
Yeah, like, exactly,
incredible.
Which is nuts.
Yeah,
and the fact that like now everybody's tracking that like the leader of the Third Reich was also taking a bunch of stuff too. It's just the whole thing's crazy. But that's I find it fascinating, like because it's just interesting. All these things that I never heard of before when I was younger that are like coming out of nowhere, and I'm like, damn, like.
You know who I love is like Shane Gillis, and he does a lot of history podcasts where he talks about like the Civil War, or like French and Indian War, and he's very obsessed with history. But also Chris DiStefano has the History Hyenas podcast.
Okay, yeah,
and it's very Giannis Pappas is very funny.
Oh, Giannis Pappas, yeah. Are they both on the same?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen Chris DiStefano and Giannis on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, so they have the History Hyenas podcast together, and they'll break down like certain events, throughout time, but they're funny.
That's
so
cool.
You listen, you're engaged.
Yeah, because they're both comedians too. Yeah, and is Shane Gillis? He just goes on their podcast occasionally.
Shane Gillis is just a comedian, but he always like on his Matt and Shane secret podcast that he's always talking about different random events in time, and he knows way too much about. Like the Battle of Antietam or whatever. He'll just go on a rant for 15 minutes, but he knows his stuff, and it's like it's funny the way he explains it.
That's cool. Yeah, I know Joe Rogan's been trying to persuade him to start his own history podcast.
I'd listen.
I bet a lot of people would. Yeah, because like he's funny, so he could tell stories in a funny way, but it would also be like interesting at the same time. And people people love funny because like when they're on their phone scrolling on social media, they don't want to like necessarily have a bunch of negative, bad news all the time. They
or to be
like,
hit over the head with just straight facts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them want to like have something that's funny to laugh about, you know. And some people are definitely much better at that. And obviously, a comedian who does that for a living, obviously getting practice. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's tough.